you are planning for a PhD or are a recent PhD joinee, then I'm sure you will understand these terms and definitions very useful. It will be very handy when it comes to your PhD and your coursework, and you will stay on top of your work. So without further ado, let's begin. Citation is nothing but just a fancy name for reference. So if you are citing any kind of article or book or anything, whatever reference you are giving, whatever format it is, that's called as a citation. There are two formats basically, APA and MLA. This is APA and this is MLA. Apart from that, there is CMOS, IEEE and AMA. Essays and book chapters, they don't usually have references, whereas journal articles or anything, they will have references in place, and that is what makes them unique and quite contributory to the field of research. H-index measures individuals' impact. Say suppose if somebody is doing research for so many years, then how do you quantify that? How do you measure that? I personally don't believe in measuring the output only by the number of articles, but sometimes it is what it is. So H-index measures how many citations you got, and it also takes into account how many papers that are published. For example, if you have an H-index of 20, that means you have 20 publications with at least 20 citations. And it also means that you are doing pretty well with your research. Say suppose you are trying to publish a paper. You want to insert the references according to whatever style, APA, MLA or whatever style. One way is to write down the format and insert article number, journal number, page number one by one. But this is quite tedious. Next way is to use a reference manager. Reference manager also helps you to manage citations, keeps all your references in different folder and keeps things streamlined. So if you have journal articles, book chapters in different places, reference manager will get all of that together. You can export the citations according to whichever format with one click, and Mendeley is one of the reference managers. There are several, like Zotero is there. The same task you can do by EndNote also, but Mendeley is generally more preferred and used worldwide. Google Scholar is a search engine specifically designed for researchers. In normal Google search engine that we use, you can type anything and get results for everything. But in Google Scholar, if you type anything, you will get scientific data which is there. This uses web crawler as well as web robot to identify the files which are of impact and retrieve it to you. Cover letter is usually a one-page document that you submit along with your CV for PhD admission or for any kind of proposal that you submit. It gives a personal touch to your CV as well as explains the gaps which you cannot put in your CV. And I've done a whole video on this. If you are a PhD student, you might be very aware of this word, but even though thesis is a document which has candidature signature and your supervisor's signature, and it presents your work. Usually thesis and dissertation, these terms are used interchangeably, but in some countries the term thesis is used to denote bachelor's or master's thesis. For doctorate ones, the term dissertation is used. Research proposal is a formal document which explains what you are going to research on, what would be the workflow, broad workflow, not the details of it, and it will give you a reference. So it will be presented in a document. It could be several pages, and the format you will have to check with your supervisor and your colleagues. So this is presented usually at the start of your research. You need to sell your idea of research in a research proposal. It's like marketing of whatever is there in your head to the public. I'm going to do a full video on research proposal, so stay tuned for that. Research paper is fully documented piece of evidence that has your research methodology, everything, and that gets published. After publishing, it's called research paper. Review paper is a critical and comprehensive account of all the findings related to that particular topic. It's different from a literature review because it's very exhaustive and it's in depth. Research paper is based on your own experiments, whereas review paper is collecting data from different sources and presenting it under the banner of one topic. Citation analysis is the process by which the article is categorized as good quality or bad quality depending on H index and different other matrices as well. How many times the article has been cited and how many times the authors have been cited, this also is taken into account. Citation index is a kind of bibliographic index. It helps the users to determine which articles cite previous publications. Conferences are largest events as compared to workshops and seminars and as well as symposiums. Research scholars always look forward to it. As a part of your PhD, many a times you are expected to publish publications as well as attend or participate in conferences. The number of attendees could be anywhere from 50 to 50,000 depending on whether it is international or national. For international conferences, the delegates and everything comes from outside and it usually happens on a larger scale. Conferences may last for few days, usually for 2 to 3 days, or it could also last for a week. It involves talks by prominent speakers and personalities in that field, as well as poster sessions where research scholars can present their ideas in visual format. The difference between seminar and a conference is that seminars are usually held within a particular institutions. The number of attendees are small. So if somebody wants to test out the ideas, they can start with a seminar and then move to a conference. They are less formally structured than conferences, where conferences used to be few days to weeks. This usually finishes in 1 day, max 2 days, or mostly it finishes within a couple of hours. Workshops are also smaller than conferences. At the same time, they are more hands-on. These events are usually formed in that particular department, but you can have people from different disciplines to attend that particular workshop. Symposium is similar to conference with two differences. The number of people attending it is usually small, usually, not always. Secondly, conferences are usually centered around a particular broad topic and you have speakers speaking on different aspects of that topic. Whereas a symposium will focus straight away on a very narrow topic and it will have lectures as well as presentations from different eminent speakers of that particular field. It's not as hands-on as a workshop and usually gets completed in a day. If you have done an experiment, how do you know whether that experiment is correct? That is where method validation or statistical analysis comes into play. These procedures are different for different experiments, but mostly statistical tests like chi-square test, ANOVA test, t-test, as well as standard deviation to understand whether whatever data you have generated is congruent or no. For example, currently that I am doing LCMS, liquid chromatography, mass spectroscopy. So in that, as a method validation procedure, we have to analyze 4 parameters: linearity, accuracy, precision, quantification. Traditionally, whatever copy we used to write with hand, that was called as a manuscript in olden days. As of now, manuscript is nothing but your thesis but before printing. So if you are in the process of writing your thesis, that will be called as a manuscript. After it's validated by your supervisor and by other faculty members, then it will get called as thesis. Scopus is the largest citation and abstract database which has the proceedings of conference, articles as well as book chapters. It's similar to Google Scholar. It has tools to analyze and to visualize your research. So it's like if you have to find out any article or anything, you can just go to Scopus, type whatever is there and you can retrieve it. Book series, journals and trade journals are usually a part of this system. Life sciences, physical sciences, social sciences and health sciences usually are part of this particular network. Google Scholar has more emphasis on articles, book chapters, etc. But Scopus, even though it has articles as well as book chapters, it is majorly used for journal articles. Impact factor quantifies the contribution of a particular journal. We had discussed H index. H index is for the author, impact factor is for the journal. So it's nothing but a yearly mean of number of citations published in that particular journal in those particular years. The most popular journal that is there, Nature, it has an impact factor of 69.5. Journals with higher impact factor are considered usually more important, but there is a debate going on whether the impact factor should be considered as a relatively good metric to define a journal's real worth. Abstract is a summary of your research article which is placed at the start of the paper, just below your title. So it's usually 200 to 250 words. I've done a full video on this, so you can check it out. If you are starting with your research, you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, then the first thing that you are going to do as a PhD student, as a newly admitted PhD student, is literature review. Literature review is nothing but a process by which you try to understand what work has been done in that particular field, in that topic prior to you. Book chapters, it could be journal articles, it could be conference proceedings, anything, so as to understand which are the different gaps which are there and how you can contribute to this scientific fraternity. It's a critical review, that's why it's called as a review rather than a report. So you present your findings in positive as well as negative. Plagiarism is taking somebody's content without giving them the credit. For example, if you are writing a paper and you just take a paragraph from somewhere, from one article, you copy paste it, then it will get detected in plagiarism softwares, which we will discuss after this. We need to acknowledge that there are people in the field which have done more and exhaustive work before you. There are reports of articles which have been wholly plagiarized, which got published in reputed journals, and then the article was retracted because they found out using the software that all this was just copy pasted from somewhere. So if you are trying to copy an idea or trying to copy a paragraph from one article, what you can do is you can read it, paraphrase it, use it in your language, and then put it in your document and cite the references from where it is taken. Also, if you are citing a particular article but if it's not the correct one, then also it comes under plagiarism. Not just using other work. Say suppose if you are using your work also without citing that paper, then also it will come under plagiarism. And that brings me to a software which is called as Turnitin, and it's quite popular. So it's nothing but it helps you catch plagiarism and how much of an article is plagiarized or how much of it is copied. You get to know through this. So usually what research scholars do is whenever they write an article, before publishing, they run a check through Turnitin to see if there are any chances of it being plagiarized or no. Sometimes your aim is not to copy and paste your article, but because of anxiety or you are in the process of writing, certain paragraphs could get copied, and this could affect your performance and your impression in that journal. As a research scholar, you will have to go through several reference papers, several journal articles, conference proceedings and book chapters. When you take notes from there should be a system where you highlight some text and it easily gets converted and stored into your favorite note-taking app. And that's where Readwise come into picture. I have done a full tutorial on this on my channel, so I won't go into the details. But for those who don't know, what it does is if you have highlighted something on your PDF, whether on your computer or on your Kindle or anywhere else, it will convert that highlight and send it to your favorite note-taking app. In my case, it's Notion. So I just highlight something and upload it, and the highlights come directly into my Notion database. If you are using MS Word for your thesis, manuscript or any kind of publication, then by now you must be aware it can get little messy. There are several pages, there is no proper organizations. That's where Scriveners comes into play. It helps you organize the writing part, and it organizes it so well that you can actually set word limit of how many words you want to write in a particular day, and it will give you a target of those many days and will show you how many days it will take you to complete that particular goal. Usually it's used by academic students, research scholars, novel authors, etc. It's a paid software, but I think it's worth it. Now, Abstract summarizes the entire publication in one paragraph or around 200 to 250 words. But what if I tell you that there could be one statement which summarizes your entire work in just one sentence, and that is called as a thesis statements. If you have 4 objectives and if you try to condense it in 1 or 2 sentences, that becomes your thesis statement. Now if you want to read a publication on the internet, then you will have to be subscribed to that particular journal. Now the access is usually given by your institute, but sometimes some institutes don't have access to all the journals. Then what do you do? How do you get that information? That's where Sci-Hub comes in. It's a shadow library, okay? It's like a pirated website. You just have to copy the link of that article and paste it over here. This will get you that article in a PDF form. The funny thing is that since this particular website bypasses the journal's revenue model, so it was sued twice. So there are different mirrors that you can use. By now, if you are a PhD student, you must be knowing who the supervisor is. A supervisor is a person who helps PhD students select their coursework, guides them through the experiments and how to go about the different things that are going on. Usually a supervisor is chosen based on the interest. Today's was a real exhaustive and comprehensive video, and it has taken me a lot of time and effort to compile this, and I hope you have found it useful. Till the next video,